behind every struggle, there's a story, and every story deserves to be heard. This is the Your Life Matters Show podcast. Your hosts are Steve Hodgson and licensed psychotherapist Dr. Eric L. Davis.
Maybe you didn't expect to hear this today, but if you're watching right now, this might be for you. Life can feel heavy sometimes, not overwhelming all at once, just quietly difficult. You're feeling stress, anxiety, thoughts that don't seem to slow down. You are trying as hard as you can, but your body wants that next hit. Or maybe it's your relationship, where conversations feel harder, and the connection that you once experienced just doesn't feel the same anymore. You tell yourself, I am not going to be so abusive the next time. Or maybe it's something more private, like gambling, something that started small, but now it's affecting more than you ever expected. And maybe part of you keeps thinking, I should be able to handle this on my own. But you don't have to. At Waypost Counseling, support is available for individuals, for couples, and for those struggling with addiction. And you can access it from the privacy of your own home. Through secure online sessions, you can talk to someone who understands without pressure, without judgment. It's just a space to be heard. Something inside you is saying, maybe it's time. Trust that feeling. Contact Waypost Counseling today. Call 317-762-0904 or dial 317-659-0179. Also, you can visit waypostcounseling.com for more information. Because your life matters, and everyone deserves support along the way. Make the call today.
This segment is getting to know all about your host, Dr. Eric L. Davis. You see him here each week speaking with our guests, adding his insight and knowledge to all types of mental health issues. But have you ever wondered who really is Dr. Eric L. Davis? Tonight you will learn about where he grew up, what family life was like for him, the closeness of his grandparents, his marital struggles, his addiction to alcohol, his love of music, the love of his life, Aaron, and his 2 children, the animals he loves so dearly, his faith in God and how it helps him get through every day, how much he enjoys the work he does taking care of patients, the stresses, the joy, and the love, all of which is Dr. Eric L. Davis.
For nearly every episode of this show, my co-host, Dr. Eric L. Davis, helps us understand the human mind, emotional struggles, addiction, relationships, and what it really takes to heal. But you see, today we're going to be turning the tables. Yes, today we're not interviewing a therapist. We're going to interview the man behind the therapist. The son who lost his biological father but gained an awesome new dad. The musician, the husband, the stepfather who became dad. The counselor who has dedicated more than 25 years of his life to helping people rebuild their lives. So today you'll get to meet Eric, not just Dr. Eric L. Davis, but Eric Davis. And this is his story and the interview I did with him. Well, howdy, folks. I'm sorry, I feel like I have to start that, and I want to welcome our guest on this evening's episode, Eric L. Davis. Okay, Eric, as we've told everybody enough, this is going to be a little different. Okay, yeah. I got to remember not to call you Dr. Davis on here. Though you are still a doctor, it doesn't take that away. But
yeah,
take us back, okay, from all my research, and I do a lot of research. You were born in North Vernon, Indiana, back on July 1st, 1977.
Yeah.
You're a Cancer.
Yep, I am.
Yep. What was your childhood like?
Honestly, I have to say, I had a really blessed childhood. It wasn't without its obstacles or things like that, but Growing up, my parents were divorced. My mom remarried. And so I was basically raised by my stepdad, but I grew up in North Vernon, Indiana. It was just a small town, still love going and visiting, but I'm a city boy,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah. Even though North Vernon, I think, is a city, or so it's just not,
No,
it's
not
not
the
like
same as Indy.
cities that we know. Yeah. And I know folks because I lived in the town right next to it, okay, in
Yeah.
Westport. So I know North Vernon very well. Now, you said that your parents had divorced,
Mhm.
when you were young. Okay, what do you remember at that time, and how did that split really shape who you became?
Um, I, I remember the day my dad, moved out of the house.
Hmm.
Um, it, I think it really brought my mom and I close together, honestly. Um, I always say, and I mean, my mother is one of my dearest friends on earth. No question about it. I mean, I talk to my mom about everything. So I think that's something it definitely, it taught me that, nothing is guaranteed. Things change. Things happen and it's not necessarily anyone's fault, but sometimes life happens. And I think that was just an important thing for me to understand is that things can change, you know, very quickly.
And probably the good thing is your mother let you know it wasn't your fault.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think that's something that happens with a lot of families. They don't think they have to say it, a parent. But I mean, this is still a teaching show too.
Yeah.
In itself, it is important to let the child know, because they may internalize that. Okay, because I did this, and that,
Yeah.
is why he left and stuff. So, um, well, your mother did influence you become a really good person.
She,
So
I mean, she is one of the best people on earth. I mean,
see,
honestly,
I didn't. I was nice. I didn't approach her because I know her well too. I didn't approach her for information. Okay, today I was being nice because I'm sure she could have given me some great
oh,
stories
I get
if I
some
asked.
hilarious things, I'm sure.
Okay, now later on, as you mentioned, she remarried and
Mhm.
remarried Russell, who's a
Yeah.
great person. I know Russell very, very well too. Okay, what role did your new father play in your life?
He really gave me a positive male role model. You know, I always tell him he is who truly taught me, how basically what a man is.
Hmm.
Like a man helps, a man, um, you know, is kind, loving. He really has been one of the biggest influences in my life, just as far as how to be as a person. I mean, he's just amazing. He is a person that truly lives with integrity. I mean, 24/7, he really does.
Did he ever teach you how to play the banjo?
No, he did teach me how to play guitar. Um, and got me started with that. But that's something honestly, I wish I probably should ask him to teach me how to play banjo
Didn't he
because
used to for a while? Correct me if I'm wrong, because this is just came in my head. For a while, he used to teach it at your brother's
uh-huh.
place there at night and stuff. He used to use
Yeah,
the
so he
facility.
he and my mom used to give basically bluegrass jam lessons,
Hmm.
and teach individuals who are wanting to play bluegrass just kind of like what the etiquette of picking in a group is.
Right.
And they would use. I know that they've used Adam's office. They've used my offices through the years up here in Indy to do those classes. And I always went when I could. I went and watched the performance that they did at the end of the weekend. It was always really cool. It's really neat to see my parents in that role.
For those who don't know, his parents travel the
Hmm.
country to bluegrass festivals.
Yeah.
I mean, throughout the U.S. I mean, they're always on the road. Someplace and your mom plays bass, I
Hmm.
believe, right? Yeah, and
Yeah.
bluegrass too. Yeah. Okay, I thought so. Just going from stuff that I've seen on Facebook. So now you have a brother, Adam,
Hmm.
okay, who we've seen on the show. If you
Yeah.
haven't, go back and look. Okay, and you have two sisters, Cyndal and Lynn.
Hmm.
What was your relationship like with your siblings growing up?
You know, um, I would say I would probably say normal, just in that, we would argue, we would, fight sometimes, stuff like that. But we were all fairly close, I would say. I've always, especially when we got older, I've always been fairly close with my brother, and my sisters. So, but our upbringing, I mean, we had a lot of wonderful experiences, went on vacations, stuff like that. I mean, so just a regular family, I think.
Well, no, actually, I'm going to disagree with that last
Okay,
comment
go ahead.
because I've seen now, just for the sake of clarity here, okay, where I've met Eric through his brother Adam,
Uh-huh.
who was number one, my chiropractor from the beginning there. Oh, he still was all the way through. And literally, I still haven't gotten anyone here. So technically, he still is my chiropractor. Um, he was also part of my paranormal group too. So that's when he got married. And before that, they used to have parties in North Vernon,
Yeah.
as we say, over your grandmother's house.
Hmm.
And that's where I got to meet Eric years
Yeah.
back. Okay, going to all these parties, the family party, a very, very close-knit family.
Yeah.
I
You are.
mean, we've seen that with Adelaide and stuff, but even more so, it's been close-knit. Now, I'm supposed to ask you, okay, about two things. And folks, yes, he does know part of it. Um, what was the last time you bullied Adam? I think you were like 12 or 13.
Yeah, it's probably about that old. Maybe 12, and he was probably 8, but basically I remember the last time I bullied Adam. I got up. He was up already. So I got out of bed and I walked into the living room, and he was on the couch, and I walked up and I like shoved him off the couch, like, "Hey, I'm sitting here, whatever." And I'll never forget. I kind of, like squinting my eyes, trying to wake up, looking at the TV, and I just out of the corner of my eye saw, bam, you know, and and basically flew off the couch and everything. And we always joke about that was definitely the last time I bullied him.
Yeah. And we're not, and you know, this is really like bullying its brothers, what
Yeah.
brothers
Oh,
do
yeah.
to each other.
Yeah.
And, I don't want, I think, oh, he was a bully when he was younger or violence and stuff. Yeah,
No.
I mean, I have a story I could probably tell you. Well, I'll save it for the other episode with my brother. Okay, same similar type of situation of
Yeah.
like picking my older brother for bothering me. But okay, and then of course I got asked the infamous Lincoln Memorial because
So we were at the
I'm more
Lincoln.
curious about this, folks, than you probably are. But go ahead.
Okay, so the whole thing with the Lincoln Memorial is we were on a family trip to Washington D.C., and we went into the bathroom, and I ran up and I like drop kicked the urinal. Okay, so like kicked the handle or whatever to flush the urinal. And Dad, says, "Hey, don't do that. Don't do that. You don't jump up and kick stuff, whatever." And so I ended up doing it again and got in huge trouble. And Adam, I remember he goes, "For the rest of our lives, Eric, I will know that you got your butt beat at the Lincoln Memorial." And that's just always been the joke, because I got in big trouble for drop kicking the urinal.
Yep.
That's what it
And,
was.
but it was good fun. It was amazing because I had a strict dad too that was very educational, very kind, but he wouldn't do anything in front of other people. He'd be
Yeah.
one that just like go home. And
Hmm.
you like, I want to go anywhere but home
No.
because I knew
Yeah.
what was going to happen once I got home. But he wouldn't embarrass me in front of my friends, nothing like that. It was really, man. Uh, as a young man, what do you think your life would be like when you got older?
I think when I was a kid, I always my initial plan always was I wanted to make it in music.
Hmm.
And even still to this day, I'm like living my plan B, which is great. I'm not complaining. I love what I do. And I still I play music a lot. I still get to play music anytime I really want to. Um, but I would say that probably. I think when I was younger, um, I just I knew enough to know that I wanted to make it in music. That was probably about it, I think. When I started getting older, I definitely, like in high school, is probably when I decided that I wanted to be in a helping profession of some kind if I didn't make it in music,
Right. Hmm.
you know? So,
You
and here
wanted
I
to do
am.
stuff for people, yeah. And I get that. Now, what were some of the biggest emotional challenges you faced early in your life, or your early adult years, I should say? Because
Yeah.
you went through a series of problems.
Yeah. I would say, so definitely the first thing was just substance use. I definitely had serious problems, and, got arrested when I was younger, um, went to treatment, the whole story. Um, but that's kind of how I chose my career, honestly. It's like I knew I wanted to help people, but um, my own experiences in young adulthood are kind of what led me to social work, honestly. I mean, that's really what said, okay, well, this is what you want to do. Um, so that was a big challenge, overcoming that. Trying to think what else. Just, dealing with attention deficit, anxiety, just mental health things. A lot of my friends that I used to, use with, unfortunately, they're gone. They're dead. So,
Hmm.
that has really been rough. Just kind of seeing, and there's that some of that survivor's guilt, and like there, but for the grace of God, go I. It's very humbling. I always say I don't know what I ever did, for God to give me a second chance because I'm not special. There, like I am not unique. Um, so I don't know what I ever did to deserve a second chance, but I spend every day trying to earn it.
I was going to say, do you think what you're doing right now may have been his plan?
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, I think I absolutely. I
Yeah.
I think I'm right where I was always supposed to be.
Supposed to be. Yep. Now, you're now happily in your second marriage.
Yeah.
Okay. But what did you learn from your first marriage at the end of that chapter? What did you learn about yourself? I don't want to go into what,
Yeah.
go into the marriage itself, but what did you learn about yourself coming out of that?
I think I learned that me having appropriate boundaries is crucial. So I learned a lot about having appropriate boundaries and just, learning, um, what types of things I'm okay with and what I'm not, and basically just really learned that really, really well. So,
And we got to learn it the hard way sometimes
oh,
too, but
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I've had to
been
learn
there, done
most things in my life the
that.
hard way, unfortunately.
Yeah. Now, was there a specific turning point when you realized your life had a deeper calling?
Yeah, I think so. I think that everything shifted, honestly, um, when everything started to shift when I was 19. So when I was 19, I got arrested, was trying to stop using drugs and drinking on my own, couldn't. And basically when I was 19, um, I always say it was like the first real prayer I ever really, said. And basically, I went to a chapel at the University of Indianapolis where I was at, and I basically got on my knees and was like, and it was a foxhole prayer. It was like, all right, God, if you're out there, one of those things. I can't stop using. Please help me. Bam, arrested like 3 days later. So that was kind of the turning point as far as putting me on the right trajectory. But I really think when when I got my first job as a therapist, honestly, I think that is when I really feel like I found my calling. And then there were lots of things that happened that just kind of reinforced that over and over and over throughout the years. But yeah, that's
That's a good segue
hopefully I
because
answered that.
I was just about to go into your work. And
Uh-huh.
in fact, my first question, which you just answered, was what led you into social work and psychotherapy?
Yeah.
But when did you realize that helping others was more than a career?
I think I've always known that, honestly.
Hmm.
I think that I've always known that. For me, like the work that I do has never, ever, ever been about the money. I mean, just never has. That's not, money is not what motivates me. Happiness is what motivates me. So, and I'm the type of person that, within reason, I have to preface it with that.
Right.
Within reason, I'll do just about anything for anybody,
Hmm.
within reason,
Right.
simply for the joy of doing it, most of the time. But I feel like I've always just kind of known that. I've just always felt the need, if I can help somehow, I just always, it's like, why wouldn't I?
Right.
That's just kind of how I've always felt in the
And
world.
that a lot of that comes from the way you were brought up as well.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. I definitely come from a long line of helpers
Right.
for sure.
Now, you founded Life Recovery Center.
Hmm.
You ran it for years and then sold it.
Yeah.
Okay, now with your wife Erin, you both co-founded, I should say, Waypost Counseling.
Yeah.
Now, what inspired the decision to start a new practice, and especially one with your wife?
So I started the practice back in 2020. And so basically during COVID, Aaron was, we're sheltering in place, back then everybody's at home. Um, and really, at that point, um, it was like, well, I'm not really sure what's going to happen. Hopefully Life Recovery Center can survive, COVID. We're going to see. So, she and I were talking, and I put together another LLC basically just in case,
Right.
and then she initially started seeing clients out of that. So out of a private practice. After selling Life Recovery Center, it was like, well, what do I want to do now? Well, I like working for me. So really, it made the most sense for me to step back into being a therapist, which is what I've always wanted to do. It's what I love. So it just kind of came about at first out of necessity, just in case, and then just grew from there. But now today we have a problem gambling treatment program. We have an abuse intervention program in addition to individual and family therapy and recovery coaching. I mean, it's been really fun.
See, folks, that's why we tell you to watch that commercial. That's sponsorship at the beginning of every episode. Okay, so what was it like to spend decades helping people with addiction, gambling, trauma, and abusive behavior? I mean, how do you we've asked this on the show, I've talked about it. How
Yeah.
have you not let it affect you personally?
And there is no way to not let it affect me personally. I mean, they tell us in school, you have to leave work at work, and I mean, and that's true to an extent, but I've never been able to do that. I mean, the reality is I think about my clients constantly. I mean, I lay down to go to bed at night and my clients go through my mind,
Hmm.
because I'm invested in their treatment and I'm there to help them. So it definitely, it requires a lot of self-care, and they teach us that in school. Any person in school to become a therapist, they are hearing tons about self-care because there is such a thing as collateral trauma, and if I don't take really good care of me, how can I help anybody else?
Exactly.
So um yeah.
So how has doing all of this changed your understanding of human suffering? I thought this was a good question.
You know, I- um I think it has showed me sometimes suffering's worth it. Where um sometimes going, like I've just always been willing to try and go the extra mile or, even to my own detriment, honestly, which, that's something I struggle with where I love what I do. So I'll work myself just sick. I'll work myself into the ground. Um, so I don't, yeah, sorry. Hopefully I answered.
Well, people suffer from, many things. I know myself, even just doing the show, and believe it or not, the listeners are probably going to come even shocked. We've been doing this over a year.
Yeah.
I looked that up the other day and it was like, wow, we more than a year already that we've been doing this show.
Yeah.
And it's changed my view so much on people's pain and suffering because
Yeah.
the resilience that they've shown. But just listening, I think a lot of us don't think of suffering, what people are going through. We talked about this even last episode about we say, oh, look at that overweight person or the cart in Walmart.
Yeah.
Okay, not even
Yeah.
thinking about, wow, that person might have a thyroid issue, or they
Yeah.
may be so. And I think a lot of what I've learned on this show is to maybe really think about what the person is going through.
Yeah. Well, I think a big thing it's taught me is that, a lot of the stigma around suffering is that it's all deserved.
Right.
Like what they think was going to happen, that sort of
Right. Yeah.
stigma. And I mean, the reality is most suffering is not the person's fault.
Hmm.
There's a lot of suffering that is, but there's a lot that isn't. And
I
that
always used to
person
get
did
angry at
nothing wrong.
people.
And yeah,
They talked about addiction, and then, well, if they just stop doing the drug. If they could just stop doing the drugs, they wouldn't do
exactly. Yeah. Like if
it.
they can control if they could control their use, they would not have been
Right.
diagnosed with a substance use disorder in the first place.
Exactly. So let's switch gears away from work a little bit. Okay. And let's go to your home life.
Mhm.
Okay. Tell us about how you met Erin and what made you realize that she was the important person for you.
So this is hilarious. So Aaron and I actually met. I went to a training at the Department of Child Services, and she happened to be at that training. So at that training, like we saw each other. I remember making eye contact with her, and I thought she was gorgeous, but we didn't talk or anything. It just kind of, two participants in a training.
Right.
So kind of made eye contact. And then at some point during the training, I asked a question and I said my name. Okay. So according to Erin, when the training was over, she immediately went out to her car. She stalked me on Facebook,
Uh-oh.
looked me up, all that, found out that we have a mutual friend, Peter Mon, who,
But we're still trying to get on this show. So
yeah,
Peter, if
yeah.
you're out there
Peter,
listening,
you need to
okay?
be on the show, man, if you're
Yes.
seeing this. But Peter Mon, who's been a dear friend of hers for years and mine for years, was a mutual friend. So she, kind of looked into me, reached out to Peter, and Peter vouched for me, which Peter was like, no, he's a great guy, um, yeah, give him a chance. So Peter reached out to me and said, hey, I know this sounds weird, but were you in a training? Did you happen to see a really beautiful, blonde girl in the training? And it was like, as a matter of fact, yes. And so he basically, told me about her. I think we added each other on Facebook, and then we kind of messaged back and forth. But about a month went by, and I remember she sent me a text, and she said, "Hey, I've got a serious problem. Can you call me?" And so of course I call her immediately, and I'm like, "Oh man, what's going on?" And she said, "Yeah, I've got this serious problem." She said, "There's this really handsome guy that I met at this conference, and he just will not ask me out for the life of me or whatever." And of course I bust out laughing, and honestly, so then we made plans to go out. And honestly, the rest is history. And somebody asked me once, they said, when did you realize Erin was who you wanted to be with? And it's like 5 minutes after hanging out with her, like actually hanging out with her and getting to know that she's hilarious and brilliant and a great person. And she just, Erin reminds me a lot, in a lot of ways, of my mom, where she has, worked hard in her life to make opportunities for herself and things. And she's just amazing. I can't say enough awesome things about Erin. And I'm not even saying that because she's going to see this.
Right.
I'm saying that because it's true. I mean, my joke I always say is I feel like Erin was the very first healthy romantic relationship I ever had, so I couldn't marry her fast enough.
There you go. Now, I only have to disagree with one statement you made during that whole thing about that when you were talking about Peter. And
Uh-huh.
you said when he called you up and he says, I got something that's going to sound really strange. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, I disagree because anything coming out of Peter's mouth is going to sound strange. Okay, for those who are wondering what I'm just talking about, Peter is an influencer.
Hmm.
You'll see him on YouTube,
Yeah.
Peter Mon, okay, and Monn. And if you've watched any of his videos and everything else, I mean, you can expect anything to come out of Peter's
Oh
mouth.
yeah.
And that's why
Yep.
I say I disagree with that. That
Fair
one
enough.
statement.
Fair enough.
Yeah, there we go. Now you married May 12th, 2017.
Mhm.
Okay, how has your marriage shaped your life from that point forward?
Honestly, my marriage to Erin has given me everything I ever wanted. And I really mean that. I have a loving wife. I have a loving family. I have two amazing kids. I mean, two
Mhm.
amazing stepchildren
Madison and Levy.
that
Levi.
allow me to be a part of their life. And um, I mean, it has given me, it's made my dreams come true, honestly. I mean, as cheesy as that sounds, I'm right where I want to be. I'm happy in my marriage.
So for the last 8 to 9 years, you've raised Madison and Levi as your own.
Hmm.
Okay, what does fatherhood mean to you now?
Man, it has taught me so much about myself. Um, it hasn't necessarily changed my views of fatherhood, wouldn't say, but I think it makes me extremely grateful for, Russell, my stepdad that raised me because like that, he really instilled that in me that, family's whoever you want it to be. And um, I love the saying where I definitely didn't give Levi or Maddie life, but life absolutely blessed me with them.
Right.
You
And
know,
you've shown them a good life too.
oh,
So
yes,
yeah.
every time I possibly can, and I mean honestly, it's taught me a lot about myself. I'll never forget one time I was frustrated with one of the kids, and I was like, I don't know what I'm doing or whatever. And Aaron goes, and I'll never forget. She goes, well, neither do I. You just do the best you can, and I was like, oh. You mean oh, that's parenting. You just do the best. It was like, wow. So you kind of learn that, a lot of the things that we stress about and, that we think are so important aren't. And a lot of times it's the little things we overlook that really, are the most important things. It just changes your outlook on everything.
I don't think we overlook it. I think we take it for granted.
Yeah, I agree with you,
Yeah,
you know?
on that too. So what has these relationships taught you about unconditional love?
Man, just that that's what love really is the willingness to love people in spite of their imperfections or or the mistakes they've made or um it's loving them for who they are. I mean, that's really I can love somebody and not even like them. I mean, and that's something that I feel like has really become more clear later in more recent years of my life.
You know, I have a friend in Westport, Indiana, Mike Gasper, who you probably even know Mike Gasper owns a funeral home. And I always used to joke around that he was a fireman, he was the coroner, and he's also an undertaker.
Hmm.
So I used to joke. I said, so when you get to a fire, you're putting out a fire and someone's dead. It's like, what do you turn the hat 1/3 and you become the coroner, you pronounce him dead, and then you turn the hat the second third and you sit there and you set up the undertaker. So we're turning the hat again.
Yeah.
Okay, from the family Eric to the musician Eric.
All right.
Okay, which we haven't touched on yet. Okay, for those who don't know, and that means you haven't watched back some of the other episodes, but you are a drummer and
Hmm.
a guitarist.
Yep.
Okay, a singer too. So we
Hmm.
have to add that in there too.
Yeah. And I
So
can I can fake my way through playing bass good
there you
enough for
go.
songs I write.
There you go. Okay. So how has music influenced your life?
Music, honestly, music has done more than influence it. Music has truly shaped my life.
Hmm.
Um, music has been always been my safe place, kind of, where like when I was, playing in bands professionally and things like that, I really think that that playing music that's probably the single most important thing as far as my mental health. And I would say it still is. Um, just being having that to connect to pour myself into, to put my thoughts into. I can write, I can play music with other people. Um, it really music has been the forefront of my life. I mean, it really
What are
and
some of
I
the bands
I
you
tried
play
to
with?
make it in music for years, especially in my early 20s, and came really close. But just
What
here I
are,
am.
tell us about some of the bands you've played with.
So I played in a band. A band I played in for a long time, for about 7 years, was called Paradox 44.
Hmm.
So I played in that band here in Indianapolis, and we toured all over the Midwest, and we released 3 CDs and an EP. And then I was in a band after that called Kafiristan that I was the drummer in. And so now what I do is I still play music, I write songs and record music. I publish music as Seasons of Ash, which is like rock music, pretty acoustic stuff, those sorts of things. And then I also play metal. I love heavy metal, my name in metal is Plague Throne. That's what I've been putting things, but that's just my solo project.
Right.
If you listen to anything by Plague Throne, I am playing everything. So there's not a single thing that if you hear the bass, that's me. I'm playing drums, bass, guitar, vocals, and anything else. So any harmony vocals are me, all that. But that like honestly, that's been just a great thing to have available because there again, it keeps me sane. If I have a terrible day or if I'm upset about something, I can, write the heaviest song I've ever heard and record it and have the time of my life. So music has provided me a way to kind of like my career, take negative things and use them for good.
You've had, did you also play with, what was it, 7 Minutes to Wapner or
Yeah,
what?
yeah. Um, yeah. So let me see. It was 5 minutes to Wapner.
5 Minutes to Wapner. I know
Yeah.
it was
So
something to Wapner. Yeah.
yeah.
And
So I
that
played
is
in a
even on my paper. I just remember that from way back. Yeah.
so 5 minutes to Wapner's still around, but I played in that band. I was the drummer in that band for probably I'm wanting to say like 5 years maybe. I
Hmm.
played with them it was a handful of years, and I had a great time. But honestly, it just for me, my life recovery center really started picking up at the time, and I just did not have, I was
Yeah,
newly
just
married, and just didn't have the time that I had previously to devote to it. So
now correct me if I'm wrong too. You were actually a church drummer for a
yeah,
while.
yeah, I
I
was a
remember
drummer on the
seeing
worship
that
team
there's memory because I
yeah,
remember seeing pictures of all of that.
at the Vineyard in Greenwood, Indiana. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. So let's see, because we entered a couple of these, and that's why I just let it keep going here. Are there songs or artists that have impacted you tremendously or left a real lasting impression?
Oh, absolutely. Tons. I mean, I could like to even to one that could like the instant is Johnny Cash. Johnny Cash has influenced me musically in more ways than, just with the beauty of simplicity, things like that. I've learned a lot from his music. As far as metal, as far as drumming, so Neil Peart from Rush was a big
Mhm.
influence, and then a guy named Igor Cavalera, who was the drummer for a band called Sepultura for many, many years. He was a huge influence on me. I mean, so metal drumming, so I don't know. I would say Johnny Cash is probably the biggest influence. Um, but I mean, I like all types of music. I like everything from bluegrass to classical, heavy metal, country. I really there's not really any music I don't like to some degree, or
If
type
I
of
had to
music I
put
don't
you
like
on
to.
the spot and ask you what your favorite song is,
If I had to pick one, Big River by Johnny Cash.
Okay. How about, and your favorite artist would be Johnny Cash also?
Yeah, I'd say Johnny Cash.
Yeah. Okay.
And it constantly changes, you
Okay.
know.
As a
Right.
musician, I understand
Yeah,
that.
right now, they're not a new band. There's a band called Ohm, O-M, and it's the bass player and drummer from a band called Sleep that I really like, an older band. But I've really been getting into Ohm's music, and it's very different. It's very ethereal and like simple and stripped down, but it's deep. So that's a band that's. There's also a metal band called Conan. That's a band that has had a huge influence on me. Just so I love music. I respect musicians. Um, I mean, music. I don't know what I would do without music, honestly. I really don't. I listen to music all the time, every day.
Maybe I should call this, instead of turning the hat, the carousel. That little thing that we ride on that spins around,
Yeah.
people push, okay? Because we're going to turn another notch here. Okay.
A lazy Susan.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, lazy Susan works too, okay? You enjoy, I know you enjoy your cigars. You enjoy
Yeah.
vaping as well, okay? What is it about those quiet moments that you appreciate?
I think for me, it's slowing down. I think the way that, and it's hilarious because, as a therapist, I know that I rationalize cigar smoking. I get it, like
Mhm.
but that's a hill I'm willing to die on. It's like I kind of at one point, was like, you know what, cigars, like I can't smoke them all the time. I can't afford to, you know, uh, I can't just, buy them like it's going out of style because I can't afford to. What I love about cigars is that, to really smoke a cigar, and I'm kind of being general here, but any person that's a regular cigar smoker will tell you, oh no, you're supposed to sit and think about the taste and take your time, all that stuff. And that's what's most appealing about it to me is that it just forces me to, I can't smoke cigars in the house, so I have to go outside. I sit down and it just gives me an excuse to kind of slow down for a while. And then it's
Even though
funny
both
because I never really
marriages,
realized it was like, why do they have the same cigars in all these different shapes and sizes? Because it's how long do you want to smoke a cigar? If
yep,
you know, if you're looking for, hours, then you need a Churchill, a great big cigar, but a Toro or something like that, you're probably looking at 40 minutes or something. I just think it's just fun. It's something entertaining. And my favorite cigar of all time, Acid Cuba Cuba. No question. I've never tasted a cigar any better than that. If I had to go with a earthy taste, My Father the Judge, probably my favorite cigar.
see, on occasion, both marriages I was in and where I smoked, okay? Same thing, I had to smoke outside if I wanted a
Yeah.
cigar. Okay, there was still question about that. Oh, house thinks of it. Yeah, well, I know it's a cigar. But it wasn't, to me, I don't think I was inhaling as much as I was just enjoying the experience
Yeah.
of it.
I mean, with cigars, like I don't inhale cigars.
Yeah,
I just, it's for the taste.
right. Yeah.
You know,
Now, tell us about your faith in God, because I know a while back you wrote a book about addiction
Mhm.
recovery, which folks is on our website. Okay, the link is right there for it. But it was addiction recovery with your faith,
Yeah.
which was a little different. So tell us a little about how your faith coincided with your addiction recovery.
So my faith, I grew up in, Catholic, in the church, all that. I was an altar boy, so I served in Catholic mass. Um, when I got older, obviously in active addiction, I was pretty spiritually bankrupt. You know what I mean? There's no question about that. It's hard to be in active addiction and have any semblance of a healthy spirituality or a semblance of a healthy lack thereof, even. So what really happened was so when I got into recovery and started working the 12 steps and all that, I really started to notice like, wait a minute. a lot of these things that the steps talk about, or like as I was working through the steps and the different principles of each step and things, it was like a lot of these things are kind of like the stuff that they talked about when I was in grade school, or at church. And so it's almost, I kind of went to it backwards, sort of. I kind of came to my faith backwards, whereas it wasn't, I had this huge faith and then recovery happened. It was, I really wasn't a person of notable faith. And, and then once recovery happened and I started experiencing the miracles of recovery, that's really when my spirituality or my faith awakened. So I really, that, like, the book was just, it was me doing the research myself, on, okay, well, what does the Bible say about step one or step two, or like in step two, it says we came to believe, so what does the Bible say about the power of belief, and just really walked through all of that. But my recovery has fortified my faith in God 100-fold. I mean, there's, I don't know, my spirituality keeps me even keel. I mean, it definitely plays a huge role in my life.
So let me ask you, what's something that people misunderstand about you?
I think, man, that's a deep question. Something I think a lot of people under or misunderstand about me is maybe, thinking that, yeah, I don't know. I've had clients even in the past say, like, man, I thought you'd be a lot more stiff, or a lot more,
Hmm.
whatever. And it's like, no, I'm just a person like anybody else. So I hope people, I mean, understand that I'm just a regular dude. I'm just a regular guy. I work as a therapist, but I mean, I'm a regular guy with hobbies and, needs and wants and pet peeves. And I mean, I'm just a regular person. Um, I think that a lot of times, just as far as therapists in general, I think people don't think that we struggle with things. And it's like, if they're misunderstanding that, like, please understand, I've struggled with all sorts of things. I struggle with the same things anybody else does, you know?
Let me ask you, what are you most proud of?
So if I had to pick one thing I'm most proud of, um, probably graduating with my uh, Doctor of Social Work degree in Florida at Berry on my mom's 70th birthday and her being there. I think that is something that like, I could not, I couldn't make that happen again if that was a once in a lifetime thing. And it just so happened that the date I defended my capstone was literally her 70th. It was on her 70th birthday. So, and she went for her 70th birthday. And honestly, just the fact that she would do that, was like, no, I want to be there. I
Well,
want to
she
see
wasn't
you.
going to miss
I
that.
want to
Come on.
see you, be made a doctor and all this
Right.
stuff. Um, that's probably one of my greatest accomplishments. And I think that's because when I was younger, I thought I was stupid. I had attention deficit and it was undiagnosed, and I thought I was dumb. I thought that I wasn't good enough, that I wasn't smart. And my mom was the one person that always, always, always reminded me, don't you ever forget that you're smart. And
Right.
she would tell me, if you're willing to do a little bit of extra work, you can do anything you put your mind to. You might have to learn it different than other people, or you might have to do it different, but you can do the same things anyone else can do. And so being able to, like, basically, and I basically just told her, like, I dedicate this, the DR in front of my name and the letters after my name, those are for you, Mom. I want you to know
There
those
you
are
go.
you. Like, those happen because of your influence on me. And so that's probably something I'm most proud of, I would say.
I'm going to ask to go a little lighter topic
Okay.
here. What did you think when I first asked you to co-host this podcast?
It honestly, I was, the first thing is I was humbled. I mean, honestly, it's like, man, you can ask anybody. You're asking me, like, wow. Um, and I think, and my initial thought was probably, it's probably self-deprecating stuff like, well, what do I have that I could share on a podcast? Like those typical types of things. I probably used it as a way to beat myself up for a minute about how I'm not good enough. And then, and then I worked through that and said, well, yeah, heck yeah, I'll do that. That'd be a blast. But, for me, like if I had to pick one word, it was humility. I mean, it was very humbling.
What's your goal, your personal goal with the podcast?
You know, honestly, to help people. My hope is that if something that we put out there, or one of us says, or whatever, if it helps somebody, then that's time well spent.
Hmm.
That's my goal. I really just want to help people.
We've always said that, folks, one person each episode. That's all we hope
Yeah.
for. Yep.
And if we can help more than one, even better.
Well, exactly right. So let's do something we do almost every episode.
It's the lightning round.
It's time for the lightning round. Yes, the lightning round. So there's probably about 16, maybe 17 questions because
Okay.
I know we've answered a few of them during the thing here. So, okay, quick, easy answers. Your favorite cigar, which I think you've said,
Yeah. Acid Cuba Cuba.
right? Yeah. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Are you a morning or night person?
Morning.
Okay, your favorite heavy metal band?
Oh man. Right now, it is probably Conan.
Which of your dogs is more stubborn?
Which dog what? I'm sorry.
Is more stubborn.
Oh, Polly. Polly for sure. Or actually, you know what? No, Quinn. Quinn, my little one-eyed dog. She's the most stubborn for sure.
What do you think is the most misunderstood thing about psychotherapists?
Like I was saying earlier, just that we don't, that we've got, oh, they've just got it all together and like, no, man, we are a person like anyone else. We struggle with the same things as any other person. Um, we just have learned more about dealing with it. That's really it. But it doesn't, don't get me wrong. Like I still struggle with my own stuff
Mhm.
like anyone else.
What's your favorite comfort food?
Comfort, oh, steak.
Good boy.
But
What
yeah,
con what concert, what was the first concert that you ever attended?
it was, oh man, I'm trying to, so my dad took me to go see, so the first like local concert was, I went to see, there was a band called Mere Mortals and I think it was Henry Lee Summer. Okay,
Right.
and I remember
Mhm.
going to that, but my first like big show was Rush. I went and saw Rush when I was in high school. And that was the first big concert I went to.
What's the best one you've ever attended?
Oh, the best concert?
Yeah.
Oh man. Probably so it was a long time ago. It was Pantera, Sepultura, and Biohazard. That was probably the best concert I went to.
What makes you laugh every time?
Laugh?
Yeah.
Whenever I do, I honestly, when I do stupid stuff, because I laugh at myself all the time. I mean, what else can you do? Beat yourself up? It's like you
Mhm.
just have to kind of laugh at yourself sometimes and move on. Don't take yourself too seriously.
Bingo. Are you an introvert or an extrovert?
As weird as it sounds, I'm very much introverted more than extroverted. I can turn it on. Like I can get on a stage in front of thousands of
Mhm.
people and do the do if needed. But in regular life, I'm much more introverted.
The greatest lesson you learned from recovery.
You know that the world does not revolve around me. And I know that sounds like such a simple thing, like, well, duh, man, but I really think that it just, what I've learned from my recovery is that, I had it all wrong. I thought I knew how to live life, and recovery is so much more. It's so much deeper than simply not using. You know what I mean? There's so
Mhm.
much more that goes into it.
Besides your own, what's one book everybody should read?
The Bible.
There you go. What's your most underrated life skill?
Oh man. Oh, um, I figure things out.
There you go.
I don't just like, oh no, what are we gonna do? I mean, every now and then I'll kind of freak out, but for the most part, I would say 9 times out of 10, whatever life throws at me, I'm pretty good about I can figure this out. I can figure out how to navigate this.
What's the greatest lesson that marriage has taught you?
That it's not what we say that people listen to, it's what we do. And I think marriage provides more than enough opportunities to practice that,
Hmm.
you know? So I would say that.
If Erin would have to describe you in one word, what would it be?
She'd probably say idiot. I don't know.
Maybe I'll ask her when we interview her. Okay, one word you'd want your children to remember. What, yeah, do you want your children to remember you?
Oh, remember me,
To remember you, yeah.
love.
Okay.
I hope that I hope when my kids look back, God forbid, when I'm gone, I hope my kids look back at me and, basically say, he was a good person and I know he loved me. And, like I really, I hope people feel like I did my best.
Now, let me ask you, now we're out of those questions, by the way. If you could speak to your younger self, what would you tell him?
I would say, like, don't stress, don't sweat the small stuff. There's, life is what you make it. Life is perspective, I mean, that's probably what I would tell my younger self.
Okay, this is going to be like a wow, man, a real deep question. But I like this one, and I can take credit for this one. When the day comes and you get to the end of your life, what do you hope mattered the most?
I hope that the help that I've offered to others, has taken root, has, basically like the seed was planted and it grew. And like, I hope that any good that I've done has had a ripple effect, out there. I hope that the things that I've taught clients have made a huge difference in their life and that they're teaching their loved ones the same things, So I
Yeah,
really hope that I think my biggest fear is that I will die and I will not have done enough to make the world a better place.
yeah, I've been there, know that.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask the last question here, because it really wraps up this episode really, really good. When all the titles are gone, doctor, therapist, teacher, author, musician, blah, blah, blah. Okay, who are you at the core?
I am a regular guy who um, who tries the best I can. I mean, I really I try the best I can. I take the things I do seriously. I really try. When people put their faith in me, um, I do the absolute best I can, and that I can guarantee. I always do the best I can. So I think when you strip away all those things, I mean, I'm like anybody else. I'm a little boy that grew up and is you know, navigating life as best I can with what
Yeah.
I've got.
You've helped countless people rebuild their lives. And today, hopefully, we got a peek into the heart behind all that work. A man shaped by loss, driven by purpose. God, this sounds so corny. Grounded in love and committed to helping others heal. Eric, thank you for what you've had to do and who you really are. It's great being your friend and
Yeah,
really great
likewise.
being your co-hosts.
Likewise. Thank you so
Okay.
much, man.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of the Your Life Matters Show podcast. If today's conversation resonated with you, Please like, subscribe, and share the episode so more people can be part of these important conversations around mental health. And remember, your life matters. We hope to see you again next week.